I am just going to check Facebook really quick to make sure we're live, and I think we are. Yes, we're live. Awesome. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So welcome everybody to our Praxis Elementary Education. We're going to be talking about Praxis 2 Elementary Ed, multiple subjects. We're going to cover everything today. So we're going to cover reading and language arts, math, social studies, and science. And we're going to be giving away, if you're watching live and you're in the Zoom, we're going to be giving away 2 books and 2 online courses. So that's really exciting. People love it when we do our giveaways. We're also going to cover everything. If you registered for this webinar, you got the study guide that comes with it. If you want to get the study guide, I will link that up and all that, but you can also find it there's a link on Facebook about the webinar. You can click that, and as long as you register, you'll get an email with that, so don't worry about that. Once this is over, the replay will be available on Facebook, YouTube, and in your email if you registered. And we are going to get started. This is going to be a long one because we're covering so many things today. So, we're going to be here for a little while. So if you have to leave and you can't stay for the whole thing, don't worry. You'll be able to catch the replay when we're finished. So no worries there. Okay. I'm so excited to have so many people here with us. We've got a lot of people from all over the country. This is the national test from Praxis that a lot of elementary education teachers have to take. We're going to cover it all. And my name's Kathleen Jasper. If I haven't introduced myself, I'm the CEO of Neva Ed, and I'm thrilled to be here. I love doing live webinars and teaching on the weekends because I get to connect with my community. And so I'm just really excited to be here with you guys. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen so we can go ahead and get started here. Let me know in the chat that you can see my screen, that everything is good. I like to just check that and make sure before I get started. All right, looks like you guys can see my screen. Perfect. All right, so, and also I need to get my pen going. Uh-oh, please tell me my pen works. Oh my gosh, my pen is at 0%. All right, well, that's okay. I don't need my pen right now. I'm going to let it charge on my iPad for a second. It looks like I didn't have it secured on the right way, so it's going to be a little, it's not charged, so I can't use it. So I'm going to go through the first part of the webinar without using my pen, which is totally fine. So again, this is Praxis Elementary Education, multiple subjects. This test is the 5001 test, but we're going to cover the subtests 5002, 3, 4, and 5, okay? Just a quick note of objectives today. We want to make sure we always go over objectives, and this is how I teach teachers, and also you're going to find objectives on the exam. So I wanted to kind of use this as a teaching moment. Our objectives are to understand the structure of each subtest, and then we move up to more complex objectives, apply knowledge to practice test questions, and analyze specific content to questions. And of course, we want to win some prizes. Now, a big thing about this test, anything that has to do with extrinsic rewards is typically not the correct answer on this exam. However, everybody loves to win prizes, including your students. So it definitely works when you are working with students. But on the exam, make sure you do not choose answer choices about prizes or extrinsic rewards. But of course, everybody loves them and they work. So usually the test doesn't always reflect everything we do in the classroom. Okay, so let's take a look at the structure, which is our first objective. Oh, and really quickly, notice about the objectives, they start at a low complexity with understand, and then they go up a complexity level, apply and analyze. So that's really important when you're using objectives in the classroom and when you're looking for correct answer choices on the exam. All right, so this is the elementary education. You can see that there are 4 subtests and that the reading and language arts portion down there in the bottom right, which I would circle if my pen wasn't dead, is the biggest part of the exam. So we're actually going to spend a little more time on the reading and language arts portion than we would with any other portion, because it takes, it's got a ton of information on it. Notice that out of all the subtests, it's 90 minutes in length and there are 80 questions. Then the second biggest content category is the mathematics, and that is 65 minutes with 50 questions. And then it goes down to social studies and science. So pretty much math, social studies, and science are evenly distributed, but reading and language arts is the biggest portion on the exam. Why? Because reading and language arts should be embedded in all content categories. So, and in all content areas that you teach. So be on the lookout for answers that have those types of elements in it. Reading in the content area, using reading strategies in social studies and science, all of that is going to be really good practice for you as a teacher, and that's going to help you make correct answer choices on the exam. All right, so when we talk about reading and language arts, and you know I always like to talk about good words and bad words. And those of you, you may have seen this video on YouTube. If you're new to NAVA Ed and you've never seen us and you just kind of saw that there was a free webinar, welcome. But I always go through our good words and main concepts. So when I say good words, these are words and practices you want to be on the lookout in the correct answer choices. Now we're going to actually go through some questions here today, and I'm going to show you how to use this strategy. But I'm telling you, we've helped thousands of people pass their certification exams all over the country, and using the good words strategy really works. So if you've used the good words strategy before and it's helped you, let us know in the chat or in the comments. But I also have a really good YouTube video about this. So it definitely works. Lots of people have reached out and said that it works. We're also going to focus on some bad words, things to avoid. And I'm going to show you that too, because sometimes knowing what to avoid is very powerful. So if we look under the main concepts over there on the left, again, I would circle it if my Apple Pencil wasn't dead. We have early reading. These are the main concepts: fluency, comprehension, acquiring language, because this is elementary ed. So you're starting in the bottom, first grade, kindergarten. So they are starting to acquire knowledge. You're also going to be working with ELLs, English language learners. So you're going to want to understand that as well. Vocab is a big piece. And then media literacy. Media literacy is a big thing now, especially teaching students what is relevant information, what is irrelevant information, what is valid information, what is bias, things like that in the media. And we want to make sure to focus on that for our students. And then good words. Now, these words on reading and language arts, these good words span every single test. They are the good words you're going to see on any subject area exam, and especially even the principles of learning and teaching, the PLT, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But these are good words you want to look for all the time when you're answering questions. The first one is the standards. So anything that references the standards, using the standards to plan your instruction, using the standards to make decisions, that is always going to be a really good answer, because the state that is giving you this test, wherever you are, and we have people from Kentucky and Louisiana and Alabama and all the way out to Idaho or Iowa. I can't remember, Iowa or Idaho, either one, welcome. They want to know that you are using the state standards to plan your instruction. So that's very, very important. You're not just allowed to go in and teach whatever you want. You got to teach the standards. Of course, they want you to be data driven. You're going to use a variety of data, both quantitative and qualitative data. And you're going to want to use that to drive instructional decisions in the classroom. Now, in the answer choice, it may not say data driven. It may say using observation, or walking around and looking at students to see how they're doing. That's data. Or it might say looking over state test scores to decide, how to start your school year, or any kind of data. Whatever it is, it's data driven. So keep that in mind. And also remember, not everything is going to be worded exactly the way I say today in the webinar. You have to learn to transfer your knowledge from today's webinar and our courses and books, and apply that to the test. Okay. So look for scenarios where it's data driven. The other thing that's very important in reading and language arts is scaffolding, especially in the early grades. You're going to have students who are at all different levels. There are going to be some kids in kindergarten who are reading chapter books, and there are going to be other kids who can barely write their name. That's just the way it goes. Okay. So you have to scaffold for those students who are struggling and differentiate for those who are, better at it, right? You got to challenge the high guys and support the low guys. And some kids who are low in one area might be high in another, and those who are high in one area might be low in another. So, you got to do everything as a teacher. So that's what scaffolding is all about, supporting student learning and those who struggle. Critical thinking is always a good word in reading and language arts and for really any content category, because you always want to be pushing the level of questioning, pushing the level of critical thinking, moving students towards that higher order thinking is very, very important. And then of course, metacognition, which comes into play with comprehension, reading comprehension. And metacognition is very, very important because metacognition is thinking about thinking. And that is how we teach students to comprehend text. We have learned as adults going through school and all of that, we have learned to make pictures in our mind, sound things out, what to do when we get to a word we don't understand. Those are things we kind of take for granted because we've been doing it for so long. Little kids don't have that yet. We have to show them and model what it is to use your brain and how to use your brain effectively. So that's what metacognition is. Break the word down. You can see that it says cognition. What is cognition? Thinking, or the brain, right? Meta means to go even deeper. So it's not just thinking, it's thinking about your thinking. And that's really important when it comes to this, okay? So let's get going on emergent literacy. Emergent literacy is all over this test because you're teaching K through 6 on this exam, and K through 4th grade is emergent literacy. And some kids, even in 6th grade, are working on their emergent literacy. So that's really, really important. All right. So let's go. Let's see how much my pen. My pen is working. How much do I have there? Still 0%, but it's working. So maybe I can use my finger. No, I can't. I can't use my finger. So let's go to, okay. Then I'm going to put it back on the charger when I'm done. Okay. So I want to show you this umbrella. It's really, really important when it comes to this particular test. We want to think about phonological awareness as the umbrella. All right. As the umbrella, and underneath that umbrella are phonemic awareness and phonics. Okay. Now, phonemic awareness has to do with sounds only. Sounds only. Phonics is sounds and letters. Okay. Now, here's the thing about, I'm going to keep putting it on when I'm not using it, putting on my pencil when I'm not using it. Phonemic awareness is anything having to do with sound. So here's the thing. If I say to you, how many sounds in the word bat? You're going to go b-at, 3 sounds. You didn't have to see the word bat to know that. All you had to do was listen to the word bat. You did not see the letters. I did not ask you, what does the letter start with? What does the word start with? What letters are in the word? It's simply in hearing. And when I was coming up as a reading teacher, my peer teacher told me, you can do phonemic awareness in the dark. You don't need pencils, you don't need paper, you don't need books. It's all on sounds only. So when you see a question that's focusing on sounds, that is phonemic awareness, all right? Phonics, on the other hand, is a little bit different. Phonics definitely has to do with sounds, but we're assigning those sounds to a letter. So for example, in the word phonics, you see a P and an H. And based on phonics and your spelling rules, that the P and the H together make a F sound, right? So you assigned a sound to the letters, but you had to look at phonics first. That's the difference between phonics and phonemic awareness. Be mindful of that. A lot of people get totally confused because they are, wondering, okay, they're both PH. We got phonological awareness, phonics, phonemic awareness, and all of that. How do I know which one's which? Phonemic awareness is sounds only. Don't have to see the word. Phonics is sound letter relationships, or you can talk about it in terms of spelling. It's spelling rules. A C is followed by an E, I, or Y. It makes a S sound, those types of things. CH at the end of a word makes a K sound. At the beginning of a word makes a ch sound. Yes, we're talking about sounds, but I have to see the C and the H together in order to know that. Once I put all these skills together, and I'm using sounds, and I'm using sound letter relationships, and I'm using syllables, and I'm using segmentation, and I'm using blends and all of this stuff to recognize words, I then have phonological awareness. Okay. And that's the umbrella. So people get confused because it's PH, PH, PH. And those of you who haven't taught, reading exclusively, this may be confusing, but hopefully this graphic and my explanation helps to go through that. Another thing you might want to check out is my reading video on YouTube. It's called the Fab Five of Reading. And it's all about reading instruction. It's for the reading specialist exam, but anything on the reading specialist exam is going to help you on the reading and language arts elementary ed for sure, and the early childhood. So they all are connected. You're talking about emergent literacy and supporting emergent literacy. Okay. So hopefully that clears things up, and we'll talk about some questions that have to do with that in a minute. Now, another thing I want to talk about are the cueing systems, because this has to do with the phonological awareness umbrella and the phonemic awareness and the phonics. Okay. Now, when we talk about cueing systems, we typically have three that we talk about, and that's semantic, syntactic, graphophonic, which you'll always see a red line underneath. It's not part of the word dictionary. And then pragmatic. Those are the three main: semantic, syntactic, graphophonic. But now they've kind of introduced a new cueing system that you probably will not see on the test, but I just wanted to make sure I covered it here, which is the pragmatic cueing system. And that really has to do with social cues, but you probably won't see it, but I like to include it. Okay. Now, semantic cueing has to do with meaning. So let's say you're reading through the text, or the student is reading through the text, and the student uses a picture next to the word, or uses other words near the word that they're messed up on in order to figure it out. So for example, let's say the word is receive. All right. And the student is trying to figure out this word as he or she reads, and the C is tripping them up, and they don't really know what this word means and all of that. But next to the word receive is the word gift, or there's a picture of a gift, or there's a picture of Christmas or something like that, right? The student then goes, receive the gift. What the student did was he or she used the meaning of gift and receive and some other things going on around the word to figure out the word. So I like to remember that semantic, the M in semantic is meaning. All right. So they're using meaning. Syntactic has to do with structure. So things like, is it a noun? Is it a verb? Is it a compound word? Maybe it's something like sidewalk, and the student breaks it up into two words to figure it out. Syntactic has to do with structure. Graphophonic, and notice the word phonic in here, is spelling rules. So let's say the word is receive, and the student is like, what is that word? I don't know what that word is. And then the student remembers I before E except after C, and C makes a S sound when it's followed by an E, I, or Y. And he or she remembers that is receive, not rekive or rekieve. That would be a graphophonic cue because the student is using phonics. And then pragmatic has to do with social cues. Okay. Is that how we normally say the word in our culture, things like that? There are cultural norms within language for all languages. Certain things are done in Spanish, certain things are done in English, certain things are done in Japanese, and those are just things that happen because of the culture. Now, pragmatic and semantic kind of go together. And again, you probably won't see pragmatic on the exam, but I always like to cover it just in case you do see it. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at a couple of questions. Now, you have these questions on the exam or on your study guide. So we've got that. And let me just make sure. Hang on one second, guys. Take a look at these questions. You come up with the answers on your own. I just want to make sure my pen, this is what happens when you're teaching, right? Oh, let's go back to here. This is what happens when you're teaching, right? Technology goes down. You just got to adapt. So that's what I'm doing. Thank you for your patience, y'all. Okay, so let's talk about these. Let me make sure my pen is being, all right. I think it's charging. So, okay, so we've got two questions attached to this scenario here. All right. Now, I always like to work backwards when I'm looking at items on the test. Okay. So I like to start here and here. Then I like to look at the question stem and kind of look around. A lot of people like to start here and do a bunch of reading all the way down. And sometimes you get lost in the scenario. So what I like to do is go straight to the question or the answer choices and try to eliminate any bad answers and grab good answers and then read the question because it reduces the amount that I have to look at. I have an awesome video on that on YouTube as well. That I'll show you later. All right, so if I read the answer choices, I can see phonics, fluency, comprehension, phonemic awareness. So I know in my head, I'm looking for some skills. And then I have substitution, deletion, segmentation, isolation. Well, just by looking at these two things, I can see that substitution, deletion, segmentation, and segmenting and isolation is actually phonemic awareness strategies. You know, if I'm a teacher and I already know that. So I might be looking here at D, but let's read the scenario. A teacher tells students to say the word hat. They all say the word hat. Then she tells them to say the word hat with a p sound at the beginning instead of a h sound. Now, we didn't say p sound. We said p sound and a h sound. Remember, we're not using letters here. We're using sounds. So when it says the teacher is working on which skill, what are we talking about here? We're talking about phonemic awareness because we're talking about sounds only, okay? So that's really important there. So it's going to be D is your answer there. And my pen just died again. I can't believe it, but it's fine. Okay, now we have, what strategy is the teacher using? Well, here we have, they all say the word hat and then they substitute the P sound in for the H sound. So we're substituting that. So what does that make it? It makes it substitution. Now, all of these are phonemic awareness activities. Substitution, deletion, segmenting is probably more of a morphology. Segmenting is segmenting the word into two different parts. So let's say it's like unbelievable, and you segment it in from un being the prefix, believe being the root, able being the suffix. That would be segmenting, more of a phonics or morphology. And isolation is actually a phonemic awareness activity where you isolate the sound. If I said to you, say the word hat with just the ending sound, the kids would go, t. So that's isolation. And then deletion would be, say the word hat without the sound, and the kids would say at. So all of those are phonemic awareness except for segmenting. And that has to do with phonemic awareness, okay? All right, let's take a look at another one. And you guys look at this and tell me in the chat what you think the word is or what you think the right answer is here. All right, so we've all got CCC, very good. So I'm going to read the answer choices first. And we have, as a student is reading, she stops to sound out difficult words. Then she comes to the word receive. And I just told you this. She remembers letter C makes a sound when it's followed by an E, I, or Y. We're talking about graphophonic here. Very good. Semantic is a little bit different, syntactic, and of course, pragmatic. I added that there. And let's talk about this question here. Now, I want to show you how sometimes this happens on the exam. These are called parallel answer choices, okay? And parallel answer choices are used by test makers to make them long. And I know this because I used to write test questions, and I was trained by Pearson, who writes these tests, okay? So I know a lot about test construction and things like that, all right? So notice it says have students, have students, have students, have students. And then we have use phonics, use spelling, use grammar, use meaning. All you need is that middle part there. And I wish I could circle it for you guys, but my pen is completely dead. After we do the giveaway, I'm going to have to move towards a different method because something is wrong with my technology here. But you can see use phonics, use spelling, use grammar, use meaning. Which of the following is an example of semantic cueing system? Well, what do you guys say? And I'm sure you have it because we just talked about it. D, very good. The meaning. Have students use meaning to figure out difficult words. All right, so now we're talking about a book giveaway. And I want to make sure my husband, Jeremy, is the one who's supposed to be doing this. He hasn't come in yet with a name. So we're talking about a book giveaway. Talk amongst yourselves really quickly. I'm going to be giving away one of these books. And here he comes now. My pen is dead. What am I going to do? It won't even, no, it won't let me. I'm going to have to change this. No, it won't even charge. No, it usually says, oh, there it is. Got 7%. Okay. We're just going to keep it going. Okay. Book giveaway. Sorry. We've got Jasmine Hall. Jasmine Hall, are you in the chat? Let me know that you're here. Jasmine Hall. Awesome. Okay, Jasmine, we will send you one of these books. What we're going to do is we'll send you an email and we'll get your address and we will send you one of our Praxis 2 books in the mail. You'll receive it in the next few days. Okay, so that's awesome. And it's a huge book. It's got over, let's see, it's like 500 pages. It's enormous. And you'll be able to study for your test that way. You'll love the book. Awesome job. All right. Congrats, you guys. Okay. So let me see. I got my app. I need it for math. So I might have to change things up. Okay. I'm going to keep this on the charger just a little bit longer because I have to have this for math. Okay, we're at 13% on the pencil. All right, we're doing good. We're doing good, you guys. Let me just, I'm not going to circle anything on this screen right here. I'm just going to talk because I need to save my pencil for math because we really need it for math, okay? All right, so usually I use the pencil, and here's a little tip for you guys when you are teaching online. And I have a video, again, I'm always promoting the YouTube channel, but if you guys teach online and you like the way I do this, like you want to do the black background with the pencil and all that, I have a video on our YouTube channel about teaching online, and I tell you all of the equipment you need and how to do it. So if you want to do this for your students, I show you how to do it. We give all of our secrets away here at Nava Ed because we want you guys to, if you like what we do, we want you to do that in the classroom. So, all right, so let's talk about math here. We have the main concepts of math is going to be math fluency. Now, when we think about math fluency and mathematical thinking, those two bullets kind of go together. We are going to be talking about the progression of math skills in the brain. Now, please remember that students go from the concrete. So if I have, 4 pencils here and I take away one, how many pencils do I have? The student can physically see and touch 3 pencils. They have to go through that before they can just know that 4 minus 1 is 3. So we go from the concrete to the abstract in mathematical thinking and math fluency. Now, math fluency is also about math facts, the automaticity of just memorizing, your addition, your subtraction, your multiplication tables, your division facts. It also has to do with flexibility, answering questions in different ways, accuracy, making sure you have them correct. So math fluency, it's kind of the same as reading fluency, where you have that automaticity, that rate, how quickly can you do it? And it's really important for math. So understanding those two things are really important. Of course, we want to give students positive feelings about math. I see a lot of this from you guys, actually. I get emails saying, I've always been bad at math. I'm terrible at math. I'm an English language arts thinker, not a math thinker. Here's the deal, guys. There's no such thing as a math mind. versus an English mind. There's just a brain. And the brain can be reprogrammed to do new things. So if you've always been terrible at math, then start practicing math and you can get better at math. If you've been terrible at English or writing, start practicing your writing. The difference is that you've been successful at other things. And so when you're successful at things, we tend to like those things and believe that we are better at those things. But really, there's no such thing as a math-minded person. We all just have a brain and we use it. And some people like math more than others, but you can totally become a math ninja if you just practice, okay? The other thing we want to think about is number sense. That's a big part of the exam. Algebra and geometry, believe it or not, it starts in 5th grade. My daughter's in 6th grade right now, and this is a K-6 exam. She's coming home with like some pretty serious algebra. And I'm like, I can't believe they're doing this. I was still like, I don't remember doing algebra in 5th and 6th grade. I just don't. But everything, they get smarter as they get older. And of course, probability and statistics, we're going to look at graphs and things like that. Now, the good words here, of course, we've got our standards and data driven. I've already gone over that, and our scaffolding. But the other part of math that's really important is the problem solving piece and the flexibility. Not only do we want kids to learn how to solve math problems, but we want them to look at numbers in a way that's flexible. And that's really important. A lot of that has to do with the Common Core math. You might be thinking, why do I have to teach them this? And I do often think that as well. I'm like, why are they doing this when it's so much easier just to line them up, subtract them, and do that? But that's part of understanding numbers in a variety of ways. And the other thing is data. I should add that here. Just like they want you to be data driven, they want your students to be data driven as well. We got to start working with data sets at a young age. So if there's an option of using data in the classroom with students, that's going to be a good answer as well. All right. My pen is back. We're back on, guys. All right. So here's an example of a big, long question that often will send people kind of off into la la land, and you'll forget what you're actually doing. This is why I say start here. This is a perfect example. Let's start with the answer choices and let's start eliminating bad answers and grab some good answers. A, she should proceed as planned with teaching equal parts because not all students understand the concept. Okay, so we've got proceeding as planned because not all students understand the concept. This kind of sounds like the opposite of differentiation to me. I don't love it. I'm going to cross it out. I'll be open-minded about it, but I don't love it. All right, B, she should move forward, skipping over equal parts and repeated addition because most of the class understands the concept. Well, that again is the opposite of differentiation, because you're saying skip over it because most of the class. Well, what if some of the class didn't get it? What about those kids? B is out for sure. Hate it. C, she should give an example of each type of problem for the whole class, then move forward. Again, we have this whole class here. Again, not differentiation. I don't love it. Don't hate it, but I'm going to eliminate it. D, she should create an extension activity. Okay, right away. I love this because that's differentiation for those who understand a concept. For the students who understand, and work with the others on repeated addition and equal parts. So work with the others. This is all differentiation. This is scaffolding. This is all the stuff I like about teaching. So I'm going to keep D. Notice I got the right answer before I even read the question. And that happens a lot on the exam. Or you'll narrow it down to 2. And once you read the question, you'll get it. Now, the next part I like to do is start with the question stem here. How should the teacher proceed with teaching the unit? Can't do much there. Let's read the question. A teacher gives a mini assessment before starting a unit on multiplication and finds that 16 out of 20 students understand repeated addition and equal parts. Now, here's a thing. Remember this. Repeated addition and equal parts, just for future problems, those are prerequisite skills for multiplication. Remember that. You might get a question about what are the prerequisite skills for multiplication. Here it is in the question stem. I just want to make that clear. So, but for this test, 16 out of 20 students got it, but there are 4 who did not. Do you leave those 4 behind? No. And then do you go back and teach the whole class repeated addition? No, because most of the kids got it. They need to move on. That's where the extension activity goes. All right. The rest of the class, you're going to go do this. I'm going to take these 4 kids here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to scaffold for this particular piece. I'm going to get them on track, and then we're going to meet later and we're going to move forward together. That's how you differentiate instruction. That's how you scaffold. So look for answer choices like that. And D is the correct answer. And most of you got that in the chat. Thank you so much for participating. All right, now let's talk about the actual math. Those are the teaching scenarios that you're going to get on the test. But the Praxis 2 is crazy full of really difficult math problems. Now you're lucky because you get a calculator on the exam. A lot of elementary ed tests for other companies or other states don't let you have a calculator on the elementary ed test, but you do get one because the problems, I couldn't believe some of the problems that I see even in the study companion as examples. So it's not easy. The math is pretty tough. So I want to do something like this because I get a lot of people who have a lot of questions about the algebraic equations and how to apply them here. Okay. So I think this is a good question to talk about. So we've got right away, I'm looking at the answer choices. I want to do that first because I'm not being asked to solve this problem. I'm being asked to write an equation. Now, I will tell you, I have not taken my advice before, and I have ignored the answer choices, and I read the question and I try to solve it. And I'm like, why is there no answer to this question? And then I look at the answer choices and I'm like, oh, it's an algebraic equation. All right. So that's why answer choices first is always very important. And of course, sometimes I don't take my own advice. So we have which option represents the scenario. Let's talk about it. Heather buys tomatoes for $2 each and 3 onions for $1.25 each. She spent less than $9 on tomatoes and onions. Which option represents the scenario? Now, in every algebraic equation question, you might have the opportunity for this right here. She spent less than $9, which helps me eliminate 2 answer choices right away. Greater than $9, greater than $9, greater than $9. We don't want, or greater than $9 or less than or equal to $9. Okay. She spent less than $9. If it said, if we were going to choose less than or equal to, it'll say something like no more than $9 or at least $9. Okay. That's where you get the equal than, at least $9 or greater than, or less than, or I'm sorry, $9 or less. Okay. So if it's at least $9, then it's going to be greater than or equal to $9. And if it's no more than $9, it's less than or equal to. But I just wanted to let you know the language that you would get if you were looking at greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. But in this case, we just have no more than $9. Okay, let me just fix this really quick. There we go. All right. So now we have, you might be tempted to choose this, but what do we have? We have 3 onions. 3 onions times 125. So 3 times 125 is actually 375 here. So the answer is C. 2T, $2 for each tomato, 2T plus 3.75, and she spent less than $9. But you know right away, I could grab that less than, I'm down to 50-50. So pay attention to the language in there, and that'll really help you. Let me check the chat, because it looks like you guys are asking a bunch of questions. CCC, very good, very good. You guys are so smart. Awesome. All right, so don't be afraid of the algebraic equation questions. I know that they can be difficult. All right, now this one's kind of hard. I'm going to give you a minute to kind of look at this. Pay close attention. Obviously, with the answer choices, I can't do anything. It's just straight up numbers. So I have to figure out what's going on. And then if I look at the question stem, if 1 can of paint covers 25 or 250 square feet, what is the minimum number of cans Clive will need to buy? So I know this is an area question. All right. And figuring out how many cans I need to buy. So I'm going to give you just a minute to kind of look at this, and then I'm going to work it out. Answer it in the chat if you've got it. And I'm going to work it out with you. Totally. So that you'll see what happens. A lot of people get freaked out when they see geometry questions on the exam. All right, so Clive is painting a design in the middle of a museum floor. Fluff don't care. His design consists of 3 triangles, each with a height of 6 feet and a base of 10. So there's 3 triangles, so times 3. And 1 rectangle with a height of 18.5 and a base of 10. So these aren't going to be to scale, you guys. So 18.5. Okay. So we want to figure out the area. Now, I'm going to do this kind of slowly so people remember, but you could do this a variety of ways. And those of you who are math-minded. Those of you who are good at math and who love geometry will probably do this in your head. But I want to slow down a little bit for those of you who have, a hard time with geometry. First of all, let's just take care of the rectangle first. And look at this. I've got 18.5 times 10. What is that? 185. Because it's base times height for rectangles. Okay, that's the area. I messed up that times. I don't want to confuse anybody. Let me fix that. Okay, base times height or length times width, whatever, same thing. Well, look, right away, I know now I got 185 and I've got these triangles still to go here. So I know right away it's not A. Eliminate A. Well, now I'm down to 75%. I know that it's not much and you still got to guess, but it does help in math to start eliminating right away. Use process of elimination. Sometimes you can eliminate all 3 just by doing one operation, right? Now we have triangles. Remember, triangles are basically half of a rectangle. Look at this triangle. Doesn't it look like half of this rectangle? So what do we do with the equation? We cut it in half. So for a triangle, it's 1/2 base times height. So we have 6 times 10, which is 60, but I have to divide that by 2 or multiply by 1/2, divide by 2, and I get 30. But how many triangles do I have? I have 3 of those, so I have to multiply them by 3, and I get 90. So if I'm looking at the entire floor, I got to add 185 plus 90, all right? So 185, let me just make sure I don't make any mistakes live online. 185 plus 90 is 275. 275, we need 2 cans of paint. We don't need 3. We need 2. Now, let me just give you a quick tip on things like this. They'll do this to you. Let's say you did the math and you ended up with 250.3. Let's just pretend, okay, because this is important. And you are moving too quickly and you're like, oh, that's 250. So I only need 1 can because you would round down, right? Well, you need an extra can because you went over the 250 square feet here. So be careful, even if you get a low number like this and you would round down in really any other situation, when you're talking about bags of mulch or paint or whatever, you went over the 250. You only went over by a little bit, right? But you still got to buy another can of paint. And you know that from doing your house or whatever. So be careful there. I'm going to cross this out because it's not our answer, but I just wanted you to be mindful of that because that gets people sometimes. Okay. All right. And free book giveaway. We got another book giveaway while Jeremy comes in and gives me my name. I just wanted to go through the question. Would this strategy help with the core competency exam? In New Jersey, we are not permitted to use our own calculators. Yes, you can use this strategy on any math test. Let me stop sharing here really quickly. Right. You can't use a physical calculator. Sorry, my husband is the math guy. And you know that because you've probably been to our math Tuesday nights. We go live for math every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. So you can submit questions to us at info@navaed and we'll do them for you. But you don't get a physical handheld calculator. You have to use it on the computer, which is kind of a bummer because it's just the way it is. If you're taking the Florida exam, which, we're talking about Praxis State, you don't get a calculator, but you do get it on the screen. So you can use it. Just be careful. I always mess up on the on-screen calculator. So just slow down a little bit and add that. All right. All right. So we have a new winner here. Davin Thomas. Davin Thomas, are you in the chat? Davin. All right, Davin, you win a book. We will email you today and we'll get your address and we'll send it out. So be on the lookout for that email. Good job, guys. All right, let's all congratulate Davin. Well done. Okay, you're asking about math nights. Let me just pause for a second and talk about that. Every Tuesday night at 5 p.m., we go live on YouTube and Facebook. All you have to do is pull us up on your phone. You don't have to sign up. It is just a live session and you can submit questions. Let's say you go through the book here and you are really confused on any one of the questions. You can screenshot it, or if it's another question you found online or in a textbook or whatever, if you have an idea for a question, you can't really remember what it is, you can email us at info@navaed.com and we will do them for you live online for you that night. So most of the time we are live, unless there's a family emergency, or if it's like we were on vacation in December, we went to Colorado. So we didn't go live because we were skiing, but we normally go live every single Tuesday. Jeremy's live. Okay. All right. So let's keep it moving. Awesome job, guys. I'm very happy my pencil is working. Thank God, because that would have been a really bad situation. All right. So thank you guys for participating. I'm so excited you're here with me today. We got a lot of participation today. I'm so happy. All right. So let's talk about social science now. Some of these concepts you haven't seen in like 20 years. If you're coming into teaching and you haven't been in a social science class for a while, you are not seeing these things for a long time. So you're going to have to go through some concepts. And we've got some social science videos on our YouTube channel. And the social science section of this book is very comprehensive. And the online course, which I'm going to show you in a little bit, is very comprehensive as well. So you're going to want to make sure that you really read that section, okay? Because some of this stuff, like maybe you forgot what Article 1 of the Constitution does. Article 1 is actually the legislative branch, not the executive branch. I heard some guy on late night news mess that up. And the reason why I knew it only is because I wrote the social science book and I had to look it up to write the book. So some of these concepts are crazy old. You haven't seen them in a long time, especially geography, like what's an isthmus? I mean, how long has it been since you heard that word? Probably a really long time. So definitely brush up on these skills and read the book and check that out. All right. So you're going to get main concepts about teaching social science. You will probably get a question or two about cooperative learning. Social science is a lot about debates and role play and Socratic seminar where students are asking each other questions, things like that. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about social science. You're going to have US and world history, you're going to have geography, and you're going to have econ. And, some of you may not be great at those subjects. Geography is like, I know we know what the prime meridian and the equator is, but we may not know what absolute location is versus, relative location, or what is a fjord. A fjord, like, come on, I haven't seen or heard of that in 20 years probably 30 years since I was in elementary school. And so you're going to want to brush up on that. Okay. And then of course, political science, which is going to be the civics portion, the voting and that's a really important part of the test because we want to get students involved in the civics part very closely and soon. So again, we've got the standards and data driven. Here's something that's big on the social science and on the pretty much any content area, interdisciplinary. That's when you're taking all different sections, all different types of content. So let's say you're a social science teacher, maybe you're working with the language arts teacher to kind of do an interdisciplinary unit about, let's say Anne Frank, the Diary of Anne Frank. Let's say they're reading that in English class. So you in social science class, you are also using that as part of the science lesson. Maybe you're reading something about, maybe you're doing in biology, something about cells. And maybe you talk about Henrietta Lacks, and how she was the first person, and it brought up a bunch of social issues. Henrietta Lacks was a Black American woman who gave her cells unwillingly. They took them without her knowing it. And basically all of our research in social science has to do with, or all of our research on cells and disease and cancer can be attributed back to Henrietta Lacks, who never saw any money from that, and her family never saw any money either. It's a great book. It's the Something Life of Henrietta Lacks. I read it a couple of years ago. But anyways, I digress. You could use that information about social issues and bring it into science. So that's interdisciplinary, and it's always a good answer on this test. Of course, we want to move towards critical thinking. Collaborative strategies, again, that was over here. And then relevance, real world and relevance. Social science concepts and science concepts can be very abstract and weird. And so that's where we want to bring it into the real world. And that's going to help your students a lot. All right, let's get into some questions, because I want to talk a little bit about European exploration, because you're probably going to get a bunch of questions on that for the US history part and the world history part. So I'm going to take a little time to talk about that. So the first European country to come to the US and colonize Florida was, how many of you know the answer to this question? Awesome. Looks like you guys know. Awesome. So it's C, it is Spain. Okay. So those of you who live in Florida know that, because we have, St. Augustine, and we have a lot of like Spanish cities here. But let's talk quickly about European exploration, because I think there's sometimes I'm going to make my, there we go, because it's a smaller map. Let's talk about early European exploration really quickly. All right. So basically, this was where the Europeans were going to trade goods. Okay. These people over here were traveling this way, and they were traveling down through here to go to India and to get to China to trade goods, get spices, and all of that. The problem was that this area here was occupied by people living in the Middle East. And so traveling through there started to become very costly, because if you're cutting through my yard, I'm going to tax you. You don't just get to cut through my yard and bring all your people. And, a lot of times as they were cutting through the yard, they were taking things and doing things that weren't very nice. We won't get into that. But, you're cutting through my yard. You're using my resources on your way through. I'm going to tax you. And again, this becomes conflicts. You've got people of Islam in this part of the world, and you have Christians on the European side. And so they're clashing. The Crusades are happening. It's just not an easy route to the East. Okay. Right here to the East to get to China and India to get what they need. Now, the European explorers, specifically the Spaniards, decided, you know what? I'm going to go west to go east. They figured out that the world was, in fact, round, or a sphere. And so they wanted to go this way in order to pop up over here. They knew it would be longer. They knew it would be by sea, but they thought, you know what, if we can save money and time and people and bloodshed and all of that, I'm going to go west to go east. And make sure you know your north, south, east, and west. I know sometimes that's challenging for people. It's okay, but make sure you got that down. So I want to go this way to pop out the other side. Basically, it's not pop out the other side. You're just going west to go east. And that's what they were thinking when they first did that. So you might get a question like that. Why did they get on ships and go towards the New World? Well, it wasn't because they're like, oh, there's a new world there, we want to take over. No, it was, we're trying to get to China and India. We want to go west to go east to avoid this Middle East situation. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about that, because again, I think people are confused as to what happened. So this is Spain here. Spaniards start leaving Spain, Spanish explorers, and they start going to the coast of Africa, and they start going into communities and taking slaves. They start buying and selling people. The Spanish did it first. And then they're putting those people on boats and taking them over to the United States. It's not the United States yet, the New World, okay? Now, what they're doing is they're using slaves to do all kinds of work, but they also are exploring this new land. And they're going back and forth. Spain is going back and forth, back down to Africa to get slaves, back to the United States. And you can see how this is forming a triangle. That's where the triangular slave trade comes from. The European explorers are coming from Europe, getting slaves. And let's be clear, these are not workers. This is not a mutual thing. I've seen in some textbooks, they said workers. It's not workers, slaves, taking people from their homes, from their wives, from their kids, putting them on boats, shoving them into boats like cattle and goods, not even like people, and bringing them over to the New World, okay? And that's the truth. There's all kinds of history to back that up. So I don't care what anybody says, that is the truth. And they start to colonize this part of the United States, and they go down in here through Central America, and they start to colonize this area. And you know that's why down in Central South America, you have Spanish-speaking states or countries, okay? So that's what Spain does. Well, guess what? And let me just erase this because it's going to get a little crazy here. Well, now England and France are like, hey, I see what you're doing, Spain. I want to go to Africa and take people and use them as goods. And I want to go over to the United States, which is not the United States, is the New World. I want to colonize the New World. Let me change my marker here so you can see. And so let's say it's the French. Let's go with the French. France is over here. So France says, I'm going to do that too. And they start going down to the coast of Africa, and they even start moving inland to get slaves as well, because you can only rape and pillage a community so much until you run out of people to exploit. So they start moving inland towards the inside of Africa. And then they go over here to more of the middle edge of the United States. And that becomes this part here. And they even are up in Canada and stuff like that. They're like all in here. And that's why in Quebec and in Canada, also Louisiana, that's why there are French-speaking people there. Okay. And so now look, they're going back to France, down to Africa, over to the New World, back to France, down, over. And this happened for 400 years. Not just like 20 years. This is a full-on like part of the way human society was, using people as goods and putting them on slave ships and bringing them over. And then the British do it too. I'm going to use red for the British because I don't know why, but I always associate red with the British because the red coats. The British do the same thing. That's right here. They go down to Africa. They go over to the New World, start colonizing it, over, down, over, down, over, down. And that's where you get the triangular slave trade. Now, a couple things to remember here, and this might not be on the test, but it's just really important to me to make sure we all understand. The United States does not get built unless slaves are used. Slaves are brought from Africa to the United States. There is no way to build a country that quickly without free labor. I don't even mean cheap labor. I mean free labor. And so down in the South, slaves were used for agriculture, and up in the North, they were used for industry in the factories and things like that. So there is no United States without the slave trade, period. Another thing is there's no United States without disease. Now remember, here in the United States, and you might get a question on that, here in the United States, it's not a new world. It's populated by Native Americans. And these are warriors. These are people who know how to fight. A lot of people think, oh, well, the Europeans were just better fighters. No, they were not better fighters. What they had was disease. Disease was on the European side. Disease and slavery, period. Now, were they innovative? Yes. Did they see something in the New World and build a prosperous country in a very short amount of time? Yes. But it happened by using slaves and infecting millions of Native Americans with disease. We never would have well, I don't want to say never because I can't predict what would have happened. But a lot of people theorize that Europeans would never have been able to take over the country or this landmass if it weren't for the disease. We got a lot of Native Americans sick. And Europeans, and I say we because I'm from European descent, the Europeans had already been through like the plagues and things like that. So they had the resistance to the disease. The Native Americans did not. So that was a big factor. Now, you know, we can argue all kinds of things, but that is in fact the way it worked. And so you might get a question on the triangular slave trade. You might also get a question about this. Let me just do yellow here. There was a little passage off to the side where the Europeans stopped and went to the Caribbean and Haiti here. And that's called the Middle Passage. You might get a question on that, the Middle Passage. And it was basically because it was in the middle of the trek towards the New World from Africa. And what they did was they were colonizing this area down here. And typically the French and the British, they were colonizing the Caribbean and they were bringing slaves there to build up that portion of the world as well. And again, doesn't happen without slaves. All right. So just want to make that clear. It was an opportunity to talk about early European exploration, which you will be asked about, but it's also an opportunity to kind of show you like, let's not water this down. Let's make sure we're telling students the truth. Certainly brushed up on your history. I do a lot of research on social science before I do these talks because I don't want to communicate anything that is not the truth, but it's very important to me to convey the truth in our trainings, and it's important for you to do the same. So one of the things that you might get on the test is about like being culturally responsive, specifically in reading and language arts. And one of the things is to be accurate and not to water things down for the sake of the children. Oh, well, they're young kids. They don't really need to know about slavery. Yes, they do need to know about slavery. You don't have to traumatize them at 6 years old, obviously, with like, you know, showing them, you know, Amistad, that movie that was just like so hard to watch. But as they get older, we need to introduce this and we don't water it down. We don't whitewash history. So it's really important we do that. And you will get questions about this. Colonization, Middle Passage, triangular slave trade, who colonized first, why did they colonize, why did they come over to the New World? All of that is really important, okay? All right, so I wanna make sure, make sure you guys know that. And if you're teaching students that, great, and you might get pushback. There's a lot of pushback with like truth right now. I don't care what anybody says. This is the truth. And you gotta show people that, all right? All right, so let's talk about econ. And econ is a great way to show students the truth as well. It's great to talk about, you know, disparities in economics and things like that. These kids are smart. My daughter comes home, she's a thinker. She's not here for the watered down version. None of us are. We want to see the real stuff here, okay? So let's talk about, you might get something like this. This is geography. This is population density here. And let me just fix I like a thicker line because then it makes my handwriting look better. Okay, so using the information in the table below, which has the lowest population density. Now, you could do this in your calculator and figure it out, but let's just eyeball it and see what's going on here because a lot of people might get freaked out by a question like this. So we have 4 cities and let's take a look at the people here, all right? Now, I have 6.5 million people. And again, these numbers are made up. I don't know the exact population of Rio, San Jose and stuff like that. But we want to make sure I mean, I talked to you about telling the truth, but when it comes to exact population numbers for questions like this, I may be off, but nonetheless, we're working on population density skills. And remember, population density is how many people per square mile. Low population density means people are spread out. High population density means like New York City or India, lots of people in one place, okay? So we have Rio, we have 485 square miles, but we have the highest number of people, 6.5 million. way bigger than any of these other, 6 times bigger than any of these others. So I'm going to cross Rio off just for now, unless I get a closer thing here. Now I have San Jose. I have 1 million people at 180 square miles, but look at Naples, 1 million people per 50 square miles. So Naples has a higher population density than San Jose, so I can cross that out. And then I have 1.6 million people to 160 square miles, fewer square miles in San Jose and more people. I'm going to cross that off. Right there, San Jose is going to be the best answer choice there. So just look around. There's going to definitely be one that you can cross off right away, like Rio. And, you know, you can see that Naples and Montreal right away has more people with fewer square miles. So they're just testing like your common sense here. And they're testing how many for lowest population density. They want to know that, you know, that low population density means fewer people in an area of land. All right. All right. And let's go to a little bit of econ about investments. You might get something like this. Which of the following would give Sam the best return on her investment of $100? Well, right away, I'm going to want 7%. I mean, come on, guys. Do we want 5% or do we want 7%? I would like 7%, please. So I'm going to take A and B out. A higher percentage yields more money, right? So I want more money. So I'm going to go with 7%. Now we have annually versus quarterly. Well, if it's annually, you're only getting it once per year. If it's quarterly, you're getting interest 4 times a year. So let's just say it's 7%. Let's say we have $100. Once per year, you're going to have 107 at the end of the year. But if you're doing it quarterly, the first quarter, you're going to have 107. Then you're reinvesting that 107. And then you're going to get 7% on 107. And then whatever that is, let's just say 107 times 0.07. So it's another $7.49. So now you're going to get 114.49. Then you're going to reinvest that and get 114.49 times 0.07. Now you get $8. So you're going to add $8 to that. Notice how it goes up significantly when you're talking quarterly. You always want the higher percentage and do it quarterly because you're reinvesting that money every quarter. D is going to be the best answer choice there. All right, now we're giving away a free course. Let me just show you while I wait for Jeremy to come in with a winner. I want to show you what our courses look like so you have an idea of what you're getting. It's awesome. Now I'm going to show you language arts right now. Let me pull it up really quickly. Okay, awesome. Thank you, dear. I'm going to pull it up so you can see what our courses look like. They're really amazing. When you click start course, you can see that I've got a bunch of videos here. We've got an overview and all of that. And then we go through and there are videos for everything. Activities here are some, this is just me talking to you. We have extra practice and writing skills and more videos. You want to hit this continue button, continue. I mean, there's just so much here. And then you have the post test that you do on there. And then we also have the full webinar. This full webinar is great for you auditory learners. If you like to plug your headphones in and work on, you know, different things like that, like just listen to things on your walk or cleaning your house or whatever, this is really beneficial. And it's like this for all the subject areas. So math, science, all of it. We have a very robust, big course for each one. It goes with the book and you get the book. Let's see how to use this course. Here it is, the study guide. So you get the book with the course. So you get every section of the book with the course, and it's a great value. They're only $60 and you'll get an offer code by the end of this particular thing. So the winner is Mindy Duncan. Mindy Duncan, are you in the chat? Let me know. Let me scroll down here. All right, Mindy, cool. So you are our winner of our digital course. We'll put you in that today. Just give me a minute to get done with our our webinar here, and I'll put you in that. And remember, don't forget to download the book. When you're working through our online courses, you want to work through the course, but you also want to pay attention to the book, because remember, I don't have a video for every single word in the book. And it's really important that you read through the book, because the book has a lot of information in it. So, don't skip the book. You got to look at the book. I know some of you are visual learners and you prefer the videos, but I would definitely read through the entire book. Both of them together really make for a good, good course. So congratulations, Mindy. Really excited for you. All right. And we're going to our last section. We have one more course to give away, and this is going to be science. I'm going to go back to purple. I kind of like purple, you guys. You know that if you've seen my videos, I'm always using purple. So science is going to be, good words here and main concepts, inquiry-based. What are we doing with students? We want them to ask questions. We want them to question things. We want them to go, why does that happen? Let me try to figure that out. We want them to have curiosity. That is the basis of science. Of course, we want to pay close attention to safety. Okay. And there's always going to be a safety component, because you're going to be working with chemicals, probably not in the early grades, but scissors and maybe a Bunsen burner a little higher up in the 6th grade. And you want to wear goggles and all that stuff. You're also with safety as equipment, taking care of equipment. So you might want to brush up on that. And that's in the book as well. You want to pay close attention to the scientific method. That's really important. And then you're going to be asked specific questions about physics, biology, and Earth space. Again, some of these concepts you haven't seen in 30 years, 20 years, some of you even longer than that. You know, like simple machines, what is a lever? What is an inclined plane? You know, some of this stuff, what's conduction versus convection? Some of that stuff you may not have seen in a while. So you're definitely going to want to brush up on that. Our good words for this situation is standards, of course, data-driven again. Then we want to really think about science and society. There are some questions about, reducing our use of fossil fuels. How can we use science for good in the world? Things like that. Of course, we want to be looking for critical thinking activities, always moving kids towards critical thinking. And then experimental or experiential learning, and then relevance to the real world. We want to bring, the solar system into the classroom. The solar system is so abstract, right? Cells are so crazy weird, like you can't see them. I want to bring them into the real world and talk about them. And science is a great content area for interdisciplinary as well, because you can attach math to it. You can certainly attach social science to it, because science and social studies, especially, the debates on different things like stem cell research and things like that, are all great things to talk about in your science classroom. All right, let's go straight to some questions here. And right away, you can see that if I look at the answer choices first, I see curiosity and inquiry. Or it might be a longer sentence about curiosity. I know right away that A is probably my answer. Let's read the question. Which of the following are the main skills a student needs to engage in science activities? Now, you might have been like, reading and writing. You may be more like, they got to read and write. And they do. But on the science exam, curiosity and inquiry is the number one thing, you guys. So make sure you pay attention to that. So that was an easy gimme question. And then now we have something about cohesion and adhesion. Ooh, haven't seen that in a long time. So the characteristic of water that allows it to have cohesion and adhesion. All right, little science lesson, because I used to teach science, so I want to talk to you guys about it. Let's talk about high heat, temp moderation. Magnetism is not part of water. Water does not have magnets, but it does have polarity, which is the answer here. Polarity allows for adhesion and cohesion because of the way that the molecule is set up. The way that H2O is set up allows it to connect to other water molecules. And when it does that, it will, water does a really special thing. So if you've ever taken a dropper of water and you put the water, little drop of water on the table or whatever, and then you drop another water droplet like right next to it, you know how it goes boop, and it goes together to make a bigger droplet? That is because of polarity. Okay. And that is cohesion. That's when a little bit of water and another little bit of water come together and they basically, they're cohesive. They come together. Now, adhesion, think of adhesive, like tape is an adhesive. When you have a glass of water and you dump it out, does all the water come out? No. Some of the water stays on the sides. In fact, if you look at a glass of water, sometimes the water even goes kind of, it's not like a huge U, but it does go up the side a little bit. That's called adhesion. And again, that's because of polarity. Well, why is that awesome? Well, it's awesome because it helps with plants. Plants use cohesion and adhesion to suck water up through its roots so that it can engage in photosynthesis, which is necessity for all life on Earth. So cohesion and adhesion have to do with polarity. Water also has high heat, which is good because we can boil it and then it evaporates and goes back up into the atmosphere, and all that's very important for the water cycle. Temperature moderation is really cool. Temperature moderation is another characteristic of H2O. And basically it's essential for life because it cools us down. We sweat, right? So have you ever gone for a workout and you're like super hot, and then you go into Publix? That's our grocery store here in Florida. You go into the A&P, or you go into Big Y, or wherever you guys are, or Stop and Shop. I was originally born in Massachusetts, so we did Stop and Shop. And you go in and you get really cold. You were just really hot when you were running on the track, and then you're really cold when you walk into the grocery store. Well, what that is your sweat is evaporating off your body and leaving behind cooler air. And that's called temperature moderation. It also happens in weather. You might get a question like this on the exam. Why is it cooler on the coasts and also warmer on the coast? It depends on what time of year. If you watch the weather in Florida, because we have a lot of places on the water here, you'll notice that in the wintertime, it's warmer, like 1 or 2 degrees warmer on the coasts than it is inland. It's cooler inland. And then in the summertime, it's cooler, 1 or 2 degrees cooler on the coast near the ocean than it is inland. Those of you living in Massachusetts or Rhode Island, you know that living on the coastal side, it's going to be a little cooler in the summertime than it is going to be inland. And that's a problem because some of you don't even have air conditioning in some of those old towns. And that's called temperature moderation. The breeze blows over the water, over the ocean, over the Atlantic, or over the Gulf, and it brings a little bit cooler during the summer and a little bit hotter during the winter. It's called temperature moderation. It's amazing, and it helps us live a good life here on Earth. Okay, little science lesson there. All right, now let's talk about Earth space. So, let's talk about this really quickly, where this comes from. So this number 10 is going to be the scientific method, or the nature of science questions. And then this right here is going to be physics, because it's about water. It could also be part of bio, because polarity helps with photosynthesis. So it could be a biology question, but I tried to pull questions from each section, okay? Now you're gonna also get Earth space science, which is gonna be anything from the sun, moon, stars, and the Earth, but it's also gonna be the lithosphere, the crust of the Earth, plate tectonics, earthquakes, mountains, canyons, volcanoes, rocks, that kind of soil, that kind of thing. So that's Earth space. So let's take a look at 12. I've got the equator, the South Pole, the Northern Hemisphere, and the Western Hemisphere. What part of the Earth receives the most sunlight? Those of you living in, telling me it's 11 degrees in Rhode Island or something I saw in the chat, you know that down in Florida, it's a little bit warmer because we're closer to the equator. And that's just because the way the sun hits, it hits the equator. Think about it. It's definitely not the South Pole. And the Northern Hemisphere and Western Hemisphere have to do with the prime meridian. And that has nothing to do, because like, England is in the Northern Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere. And you've got Canada has pieces in the Western Hemisphere and Northern Hemisphere. So that doesn't make a difference there. The Northern Hemisphere, definitely not. And the Western Hemisphere, it depends. If it's the Western Hemisphere near the equator, yeah, but the equator is the main thing here. The other thing I want you to remember about Earth space is a big one, is the Earth's tilt on its axis. Okay, that gives us seasons. You'll see that on the exam. When we're tilted towards the sun, it's summer. And like, let's say this is the sun up here. Let's just say it's summertime. Here's the sun. Let me do a little demo here. Okay, here's the sun. Looks just like that, guys. Okay, you can notice up here on the North Pole, they get 24 hours of sunlight in the summer. It just spins like that. That's why in Alaska, it's 24 hours of sunlight on certain times of the year. And our days get longer over here. Oh my God, I'm going to draw the United States. We have longer days in the United States because we're pointed towards the sun, right? Down here in the South Pole, it's complete darkness for some days during the summer. Our summer, it's their winter, right? So they're pointed away. And then when the Earth goes around the other side, so let's say this pops over on the other side, now the bottom of the Earth is pointed towards the sun. Now we have 24 hours of sunlight at the bottom. So seasons is because of the Earth's tilt on its axis. Remember that for the test. You will get a question about that. It's on every single elementary science exam, hands down. Okay. Let's take a look at this. If I look at the answer choices here, I see that I have dominance, recessive, natural selection, and classification. I'm looking at bio. This is biology. And we're looking at genes, probably heredity. I want to be in that mind frame. That's why looking at the answer choices is always a good thing. Let's take this. The students are learning about, or I can't do much there. Let's go with the whole scenario. In a third grade class, students learn that the black moth has a genetic makeup that makes it difficult for predators to see it against dark trees. The white moth does not have the same genetic makeup and is easily seen by predators and eaten. So against the tree, you see the white moth a little bit easier. Some cases, there are white trees and the white moth blends in better than the black moth does. It just depends on where you are in the world. But in this case, the black moth has a beneficial mutation or genetic makeup, and it happens by chance. Now, you might be tempted to do dominant or recessive here, but we're not saying what is the genetic makeup. We're not saying let's say it's let's say black is the dominant and little b is the recessive. In this case, it would show black. The only way you're going to show white is if you have two recessive alleles. And that's in the book as well. I go through that and the online course. We go through the Punnett squares and all of that. But we didn't ask that. We're just talking about being picked off by predators and surviving. Well, what's survival of the fittest? It's natural selection. Classification, that's not what we're talking about here. We're not classifying living and non-living things. Now, it might have been 20 years since you've seen that. Other things that have to do with bio, what kind of circulatory system does a clam have? How long has it been since you learned about the circulatory system of a clam? It's probably been 30 years. So you got to brush up on that stuff. Open circulatory system versus closed, invertebrates versus vertebrates. We all got to brush up on that. Until I started writing the elementary ed books, I had forgotten all about that stuff. It's not in our daily activities, but you got to know it in order to pass the certification exam. So that's an example of the biology questions you might get. All right. Now, of course, there's a lot more. All right. That brings us to the end, guys. Free course giveaway, one more. And then I have a couple of other things I want to share with you for some discounts and things like that. So if you didn't win, we still have discounts for you. All right. We've got Marty Fallavine. Are you in the chat? Let me pull you up. Marty. All right, Marty. Awesome job. And we will put you in the course as soon as I'm done here. So don't worry about that. Awesome job. Congrats, Marty. Congrats, Davin. Congrats, Mindy. And congrats, Jasmine. All right, guys. Now, listen, there are a couple of things you're going to be able to do. Even though you didn't win, we've got some discount codes and things like that for you. Okay. So let me just check the chat and see if anybody has any questions. Jeremy, what is the difference between Praxis and FTC? So we're not talking about FTCE today, but they're very, very, very similar. They cover the same things. You can look up anytime you want to know the difference between tests, look up the blueprint. All right. And I'm going to show you on YouTube where to get all that information. But if you look up the blueprint and the test specifications, it will show you exactly what is on the exam. And that's really, really important. So let me just jump over to a few things before we leave today. I cannot believe I did this in under an hour and a half. Usually I you know, usually I'm a lot more long-winded than that. So let's talk about our YouTube channel really quickly. We have a ton of free videos. You can see here are our live sessions, and this session will also end up in the live session because we were live. You can see that this is some of Jeremy's math problems or math sessions here. I always put his math sessions on our YouTube channel on the live session playlist. So if you want to go back 10 months, you know, whatever you want to do, they're all there. I also just posted a new video here on teacher evaluations. So we don't just do videos on the tests. I've started doing videos on lesson planning, how to use objectives, because you guys have asked me for them. A lot of teachers have said, hey, I don't know how to lesson plan, or I don't know how to use objectives, or how do I do my evaluation, or whatever it is. So I'm starting to do some videos there. I'm also still doing test videos. So you can see here, I did Praxis Special Ed. I've got PLT here. We've got a huge PLT program if you take the principles of learning and teaching. Praxis Core, if you're looking for leadership, if you're getting ready to take your leadership exam, or you just want to check out what leadership is all about, because that might be a goal of yours, definitely check out our leadership breakdown and playlist there. We have a very robust math section. And then here I have the test strategy. Now, I did talk to you guys about working backwards, good words, bad words, but I didn't spend a huge amount of time on it. These are must-do videos here. These have helped so many people, and I think a few people said in the chat, let me just open the chat because I see it going a little crazy. They use these strategies, and it really helps pass, especially on the PLT. The principles of learning and teaching is really a scenario-based test. So these really work well there. And then I also show you how to break down the blueprint and using the study companion. That'll work for any test. So all of that. Now our YouTube, and I'll put it in the chat right now, our YouTube is just youtube.com/NavaEd. youtube.com/NavaEd. There it is for you. That'll get you to it. I know this is a crazy link up here, but we have a branded name or something like that. And we're getting there, guys. I'm really excited about our YouTube channel because we're at 11.7. So over almost 12,000 subscribers. So that's huge. I'm really excited about that. Another place where you can get free stuff is our Facebook page. So you can see here, we have videos. Now you can go on here and find all of Jeremy's past videos. So there's a lot here. There is a lot here. Here's that virtual teaching tools I told you about. That's also on YouTube. So check out our online videos. They help out a lot. This is when we were in quarantine and Jeremy was like, I don't know what he was doing with his hair there. And this is when he grew a mustache. I had to put the kibosh on that. That was crazy. But yeah, go in and check us out here. We are also on Instagram. You can see that I share, these little carousels. Some people like that. What I'm trying to do is hit all of your learning preferences. Some of you are visual. Some of you like video. Some of you like audio. Some of you like read, write, printing. I'm trying to hit all of the learning preferences there. Okay. Middle school science, somebody is asking. I'm working on middle school science. I don't know when it will be ready. I love science. I taught science. I promise you I'm working on it. Okay. Science is just an entire book on science. Takes a long time because there's a lot of research that goes into that. All right. And then finally, guys, I want to bring you to our website here. I just want to plug our PLT resources. I know you guys are looking for Praxis too, but if you take the PLT, these are amazing resources. Our digital course is insane. It is such an amazing course. It'll get you through the PLT. And we have PLTs for all sections, 5621, 5622, 5623, and 5624. And we just published, let me go back. We just published early childhood. So if you have friends who need early childhood and the core. Now, the other thing I want to show you, free webinars here, guys. You can get them here. You can also get them on our thing down here. If you have friends who need the elementary ed, but they couldn't go today to the live, have them go here, sign up. It'll be a recorded webinar. Some of you are asking on core competencies. We have such a robust catalog for Praxis Core. First, we have all of these broken up, and I even broke up the grammar versus the essay because the grammar is much different than the essay. So you're going to want to do both of those because the writing is a combined score, but the Praxis Core Math and the probability and stats, I even do an exclusive on probability and stats. So somebody's asking, what is the blueprint? Let me just show you. Let me go. Praxis 5001 blueprint. Oh, look, there I am, my videos. You could also click the videos, but here it is. Go right here. These are all study.com is a paid ad, but right here, you can see that it's got preparation materials. And if you go, you see the study companion, that's the blueprint. When you click it, it'll come up and you can download this to your computer. Notice that they have the blueprint here. And then all of this is the good stuff, guys. All of this is the information. This is how we write the books. This is how we teach the courses. We make sure we cover all of this. Now, let's say you're broke and you don't want to buy the course because you're on a limited budget and you're a teacher. This right here is an amazing resource. Use this plus a free few videos on my YouTube channel. You could do it totally. But you're going to want to take a look at this and make sure you watch that video about how to use the blueprint. And it looks like if you just Google, which makes me happy, Praxis 5001 blueprint, my video comes right up. So that's exciting that we're at the top of the page there. So check that out. Let me stop sharing here. Now, discount code. If you didn't win and you really want to buy our products and you want a discount, if you use Praxis, let me just make sure I'm telling you guys the right discount code. Hang on one second. I believe it's Praxis EE, as in Praxis Elementary Ed. Let me just make sure. If it's not here, I'll put it in. Praxis. Well, you can use, let me do it. Praxis EE20 is the offer code. I'm putting it in right now to create a discount code. So as in Praxis Elementary Ed 20, Praxis EE20 will get you 20% off anything you buy in our store. And you can use it as many times as you want. There's no limit on that. So send it to your friends and things like that. Any questions before I log off here? How many percentages do you have of people who have taken the course and passed the test? Okay. We don't guarantee passing. We don't do that, but we have a very high rate. Our rates, depending on the test, are anywhere from 88% to 93% pass rate. And on our PLT and SLLA, it's even higher. It's like 98%. So we know what we're doing. And we promise you that whatever you buy from us is the highest quality that there is out there. Now, it doesn't mean you can just do the practice test and be done. You got to get into this book. I mean, it's a lot. It's a big test. A lot of people go just to the practice test. That's fine. But if you're struggling with concepts, you got to get in and really work these concepts. So it's anywhere from an 88 to a 92% on any one or more sections. Some tests have multiple sections. And so when we collect the data on that, it's a little bit different. Sometimes it's a little bit higher. Sometimes it's a little bit lower, but it kind of evens out between 88 and 92%. Once you purchase the test, how long can you use it for? We do not have expirations on our classes. So I hate memberships. I hate getting wrapped up in it. And we believe that some of you may need the course a little bit longer than somebody else. And so we do not put a time frame on it. We allow you to access it. Now we take a risk in that. A lot of people say I'm crazy for doing that, but I don't care. Some people need a year to pass, and that's fine. If you need a year to pass and you buy it, then you have it. How long do you recommend studying for the core test? Now the core is a little bit different. The Praxis core is broken up, into some major sections, and some people have a hard time with any one or more section. I recommend going through our webinars and working through the skills one at a time. Now, if you buy the books, let's say you're like, I'm going to get the study guide. I recommend doing one of the practice tests first in that section, getting your score, figuring out where you're low, focusing, and then taking the second practice test after that. If you're someone who really struggles, you might need more time. It just all depends on what you're trying to do. It's hard to give an exact time frame, but I don't recommend sitting in any of the courses too long. I don't recommend like starting to study and then it's 6 months later and you still haven't done anything. You got to get in. It's like, it's test prep. You got to do it, get in and get out. The other thing is for our Praxis 2, I recommend like 3 weeks for all subject areas. And then going back, if you don't pass one of the sections, going back and revisiting that, because you might pass 3 out of 4, you might pass them all, you might pass 2 out of 4, it just depends. What do people say about the home test as they take the test on the site? Now, I have had people take the home test. They said it's fine. For Praxis, a lot of people are taking the test from home because of the pandemic and just the amount, they're trying to push people through, and it's easier to have them take it at home. And it's mixed reviews. Okay, mixed reviews. They have had some situations where it went fine. And then I've had situations where people are like, it was a nightmare. It just all depends. People are asking, what is the code? And it's going to be, it shouldn't be to panelists. It should be to everybody, panelists and attendees. Hang on. Praxis EE20. I'll post it too, you guys. I'll post it when this goes up. Praxis EE20, and our YouTube is youtube.com/NavaEd. That didn't go out to everybody, so that's it. So anyways, that's kind of a nutshell. We have so many products and free stuff. So do the free, see if you like it, then do the paid. Tell your friends about us if you haven't already. We love our teachers. We love working with you guys. Don't forget about Tuesday Math. If you have any questions, you can go on our website and hit the email, the contact button. And we really appreciate everything you guys are doing out there. And we know that, you're working really hard. Somebody's asking, is this Eastern time? Yes, we are on Eastern time. Sorry about that. It is 5 p.m. Eastern. And Jeremy is an awesome math teacher. He does a really good job. He's very patient, and he's a really good math teacher. So he will be on Tuesdays. All right, guys, let us know if you have any questions. Be on the lookout for the recording. This will hit. And I will also send in an email for those of you who attended on Zoom, the presentation. So you'll be able to do that. I'll make it with writing and without writing. And if you want that, if you didn't go through the Zoom and you're on Facebook or YouTube, just click the link in the description when I post, and you'll be able to access all of that. All right, guys, it was a pleasure. Have an awesome